Hi everyone, this is Gabby here, and I decided to make a video about a personal crisis or an identity crisis that many people go through right now, or some people went through before and some people will go through at some point in their lives in the future. But many people are going through this from my surroundings and environment, and I felt the urge to share some of my knowledge and share some of my experiences in this field. So let's clarify first of all what the word crisis means. According to the dictionary, a crisis is a time of intense difficulty. So a time of intense difficulty. But also the meaning can be a turning point. And I think this is even more interesting. It's not just it's a difficult time, but it's a point where we might turn to something else, turn towards a new life, and we might change things. So I love the meaning of this word because it has these two elements, the pain, like extreme difficult time, the pain, and also the opportunity that it brings with itself. And it's very important to notice this. So the message of the crisis is always the same for everyone at any stage, whenever it comes. The message is that we need to change. The message is that it's time to change. It's time to basically grow and progress in our life and to step up to the next level in our lives. Many people imagine life as a linear one line, like a straight line like this. But life is not like that. Life is not like that. Evolution is not like that. And our self, how we evolving, are not like that. Our life is more like something like that. Or you can imagine life like a spiral where we're going through a developmental path, and we grow as human beings, and we get to a higher and higher level as we progress, right? But it's definitely not a linear line. It's definitely not a linear straight line. And why am I explaining this? Because if you understand this visual image that life might be like this or might be like that, that's going to involve change. And that's going to involve going through a difficult time or crisis in order to go through the next level. Now, let's look at the symptoms, because I made this little drawing for you so that you can see the symptoms that people go through when they're experiencing a crisis. So, can you see it? Yes. I think it's a little bit shiny, but yes, that's fine. So a crisis basically is a transitional time between two life stages. Yeah, so this is how we grow and evolve. So it's a necessary thing to experience crisis at some point. Now, what we will experience. So first of all, in our previous stage, this is kind of our previous stage of life, we might feel that we are happy. Yeah, so maybe we had like many years of happiness, happy years. But some people, for years, already experiencing a dissatisfaction, but they deny it. So there's two options here, right? So you're either happy or have been happy for years, maybe even for like 10 years, 20 years. And some people who are not happy but put their head in the sand and they are in a denial. But regardless of which one is you, at some point when it's time to change and when it's time to grow, you're going to experience things like uncertainty. Now, what does that mean, uncertainty? Clients and people who I talk to describe this uncertainty like not sure what's going on, for example, or I don't know what it is, I can't put my finger on it, but I'm not happy. That's a very common one, what people notice in their lives. When I went through this as well, I felt like I have everything. Like, okay, my work is going well. My health is okay. My work is going well. Financially, everything was okay. But something is wrong. Something is not right. And so it's kind of a general feeling of dissatisfaction that people experiencing here. It's not so painful up here, and so people don't necessarily ask for help at this stage because they're still okay and they still get away with it. They're just not happy. What most people do here is that they put up a mask. So they go to work as if everything was okay. They carry on their previous life because this is what they know. This is how they learned to behave, and this is how they learned to be. And so we're just trying to maintain that, at least on the surface. But then what happens is that we're trying to not to focus on not feeling well. We might go on holidays to make us feel better, or spend more time on social media to make us feel better, or all sorts of escape mechanisms we can do to make us feel better in the moment. But it's not going to help long term, because at some point it's going to go further down. And so again, a very common symptom that people mentioned or told me is that they went through a time when they just felt lack of motivation. So, I liked my job before. What happened? I don't know. I don't want to go to work anymore. I don't feel like being there. I don't want to be in that meeting room. I can't focus during the meetings. I don't care what they're talking about. I just don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to pretend anymore. And so these are very common sentences, again, what people, how people describe this stage. So at this stage, now, just to clarify something, people might not go through exactly in the same order, but these are common things that people go through. Just common things. Not everybody will have everything, basically. And some people have like maybe a less serious crisis, and some people have like really deep, really painful crisis. But I might make another video on this. So for now, let's get back to the symptoms. Confusion. So confusion refers to the feeling of feeling lost. It's a feeling of I don't know where I'm going. Why am I here? Like, what's the direction? Where am I going to? It's a feeling of lost. And some people describe this almost like being in a dark forest, or being in a dark place where they can't see the light. They literally can't see where they are going. They know that something is wrong, and they know that they cannot continue the old life anymore, but they don't know where they are heading to, and they don't know what's the new direction. So it can feel really confusing. Some people describe this as pulling the ground so it was almost like the ground was pulled out from their feet, because everything that they knew were not true anymore here. Everything that they learned were not working here anymore. And so they were in almost like a limbo, in a place where like nothing exists or nothing is important. And so they lost their old life. The old life was falling apart, but they didn't quite get the new life yet, and they didn't learn what's going to be the next life. So it can be a very, very confusing state. And of course, part of this, going through this crisis, especially if it's a really deep crisis, is going through lethargy and feeling depressed, sadness, deep sadness. I remember this so well. I remember this stage. It was actually quite a few years ago now, maybe 3 years ago. I was going to work, and I mean, this is crazy. I still did a good job, People didn't notice I was going through a massive crisis. I was crying. Every morning I was crying before work. I saw, I mean, this is amazing, like this is crazy. I haven't thought of this actually for a while, but I was walking to work and I felt like crying on the street. I had to stop and kind of hide my face so that people can't see that I was crying. It's like ridiculous that people go through this, and yet we don't know what we're going through. We don't know what we're going through. Now, I just want to point out this thing, depression, because I think it's very important to realize that it can feel like a really dark place, and you might be labeled as being depressed if you go to a doctor or a psychologist or psychiatrist. However, the problem is that depression is just a symptom here. It's just a symptom here. Depression means here that you're going through a transitional time, and it's absolutely normal to feel depressed. And this might even take some years for people. So don't think that this is just a couple of days or a couple of months. So you can imagine when somebody going through this feels like what the hell is happening to me? I'm depressed, I have no motivation, I don't want to do my job, I don't know where I'm going, I feel confused, I feel lost, I don't want my old life. What's going on? And I think it's crazy that everybody at some stage will go through this in their lives. It's crazy that everybody will go through this, but it's not taught at school. People don't know this. People don't know about this. People don't know that it's a normal process of human development. There are many books and literature and articles about children development and the different developmental stages for children. Yet there's not enough things out there about the adult development. How am I progressing as a human being once I'm an adult? Sorry. Yeah. Cool. Now let's come back to this, the deep point, the crisis. Because here there's a couple of choices, and this is actually quite serious here, because you don't know what you're going through. All you see down here is darkness, and you literally don't know what's going on. And so some people go down and quit, and this is a very sad thing, because this is when people commit suicide. They don't know where they're going. They don't know what's going on with them. Nobody told them that it's just part of being a human. So some people quit. Some people become homeless because they lose everything. They lose their job. They get into debt. They lose their relationship. They lose health, and then they might become homeless, or they become ill, like physically ill, with serious illnesses, like life-threatening illnesses. So this is actually a really, really serious place here. And that's why I wanted to talk about this, to be honest, to share that this is a normal part. And I would like to shine the light to these people that this is not the end. This is not the end. This might be the end of the crisis. That when you hit rock bottom, that's a good place, because that means that you suffer enough to make changes. When you are right here, this has the opportunity to start changing things, because you can't do anything else. You can't go backwards, right? We can't climb back. We can only go forward, right? And so it can be quite a long road to come out, and there's different stages to that. And I probably will make another video about that as well. But if you are interested in these things, just reach out to me, write an email or comment in the comment section, and just ask a question. If you have any more questions about this, I'm so happy if somebody's interested in this, because because this is part of being a human. Some people might feel that, okay, I'm in a happy stage, I don't care about this, which is absolutely fine. If you are in a happy stage, then great, then enjoy that, because that's an awesome part, of our lives. So that's great. But just so that you know, if something happens like this, it's just a transitional time, a transitional stage. And so I wanted to just talk about some negative or kind of misconception, basically, just a few which I found are very common. So the first is crisis is a negative thing. Obviously, we already kind of talked about this, that crisis has the opportunity to help you to change to a better version of yourself and to change your life and transform your life and to be in a better place. So a crisis is a hard thing, but it has the opportunity to grow. It gives you the opportunity to grow. Another one is that you are alone and nobody else is going through the same thing. Not true. Millions of people are going through the same things, and millions of people went through the same things already, even back in historical times, back, amongst our ancestors. I read many stories where you could see people going through the same crises and changes. And so you're not alone. You're not alone. But the problem here is that we think that we are alone because we're not sharing it. So you are only alone because you're not sharing it with enough people to find others who went through the same. And so I think with this video as well, I wanted to perhaps change this and leave the taboo. Going through a crisis is not a negative, not a negative thing, but it's not a shameful thing. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. It's not a shameful thing. It's a normal thing. I went through, many of my friends went through, many of my friends going through right now. Many of my clients went through the same. Everybody will go through at some point. But again, let's just remind you of what I already said. Not everybody will have a really, really deep one. Some people will have a more subtle transition, especially when it comes to midlife crisis. It also depends on how fast you're progressing. So at what stage you will have those particular crises. But anyway, I don't want to get into too much detail here because it's getting more complex. For this video, I just wanted to show you the overview and basically an anatomy of a crisis, so how it happens. So, if you found this useful, if you think others could benefit from this information, perhaps share this video with them, or press a like, and please comment and question, ask me anything. I would be happy to answer in my next videos. Yeah, so I hope you're well, and just reach out to me if you need any help. Bye bye.